Right, everybody, welcome to DIY mask making. All you really do is make a simple paper mache recipe. That down there, that is the paper mache material that you're going to use to soak the paper in to make your mask. Yay! So basically what you do is you take flour and water, and you add flour until it's like the consistency of, I want to say pancake batter, because cake batter is not a good example. It's way too thick. So, once you've got your pancake batter consistency, you go ahead and cut up a bunch of paper, clearly, and go ahead and just basically use whatever you want to make your mask. I have an old wig head here because I'm a cosplay dork. So I coated it in foil, and believe me, it was a pain in the butt to get off, so make sure you have like some non-sticking spray or something. I did this, but it didn't work out well for my eye tracing. I did that with Sharpie. You want to have something to stable said thing on, said whatever, balloon or wig head or whatever. Well, you can do it with balloons, but it won't turn out as good, if you ask me. That's my opinion. So basically, what you do, sit and you layer all the papers on. This mask I'm doing for, if anybody knows, Sally Face. So because the character I'm making this for has a pink piece, and it looks like there is a giant crevice, I decided to cut the piece off that I'm going to paint pink. And for this, I'm going to go ahead and leave the eye holes uncovered. You can make the eye holes covered if you want to like black them out or whatever, depending on what you're doing. Make sure you have some breathing room, because yeah, that's what that tiny itty bitty two dots are for right there. Those are actual holes that I made. Make sure you get out all the bubbles and stuff. For the Sally Face mask, pretty much, I'm going to paint that piece pink. I'm going to paint this piece white before I attach them back together. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to attach them back together with paper mache and the back on the inside of the mask. And that should go ahead and help with making that crack there, because that's our goal, because it's supposed to look like it's held together with tape. And I figured the character would probably make his mask out of paper mache, because he says it's a prosthesis, quotations there, and basically yeah, so he says it's a prosthesis, but with the way it looks, it doesn't look like it's a prosthesis. So I'm going off of that, and I actually have a picture reference that I'm using. So basically, what you want to do for when you cut out the eyes, you only want to have like 1 or 2 layers of paper. You gotta make sure that the eye holes are thin enough for you to poke like a small pair of scissors through, or use an X-Acto knife, but be very careful because those are sharp. I've cut my hand with one before. It's not good. And then you go ahead and shape your eye holes how you want. Because mine, he has a straight face for his thing, so I left the mouth looking straight-ish. Here, there is mouth indent there. And I took a old book that I'm not reading, and that's probably just going to sit in my room, and I'm upcycling it to make my mask. I do it for a lot of masks. I'm very good at making masks. This is one that I did with a balloon. This is Masky from Creepypastas, and it doesn't look very good because this one is my first one, and it's very bad, and I really did not like how he looked. Um, Second one was Eyelash Jack, again another creepypasta, and I used the same kind of wig head that I used for this one for this. And Eyelash Jack turned out really good. I put some see-through fabric in here so it blocks out my eyes and you can't see. I went ahead and painted it with acrylic and then coated it with a matte thing. I did it very lightly. I accidentally sat on him, so he has a few bad breaks here and there, and I have to go ahead and make a new one. But yeah, that's because I didn't put as many layers as I should have. This one is another creepypasta that I made myself, and I took a very long time to make this. Oh my god, he was a pain. Anyway, this is my character, Senius. He has a few nicks of his own that I need to work on. But, this I used a, thing for. It's just heavy, on a wig head, so he's just sitting in a drawer. And I have yet to finish attaching the other strap to his thing. Oh, another thing. Make sure you get like a soft sponge or a foam or something because you want your mask to be comfortable. And you put it where it's touching your skin because it'll irritate it otherwise. Just fair warning. This one still doesn't have all its padding where it needs to go, and he bothers the heck out of me when I try him on. EJ has only one issue. He's a little too small, so his was right where my chin was sitting. I used newspaper for him because I didn't realize that I had any book scraps or anything like that. For what I did with this one particularly, when I was doing the eye hole area, to make the layers thin so I wouldn't have so much trouble cutting, I used tissue paper. The yellow over there, that's tissue paper. To make it easier for me. The only problem is that it's very unstable if you do that, so you need to be very, very, very careful, especially when cutting out the eye holes. If you want to make them even, you really got to be careful with that choice of what you're doing. Other than that, I suggest take your time because this is a very time-consuming project. Basically, it takes a few days, like 3 or 4, because you want to make sure that you have strong enough layers on your mask to go ahead and do what you need to do to it. Considered painting, if you have a 1-layer or 2-layer mask, it's gonna break like EJ, my Eyelash Jack mask from my creepypasta. He broke very easily because I didn't layer him enough, and I learned my lesson, and I need to fix that. But what I do for the mache goop, basically that's what it is, I stir it with a fork typically. And then I always make sure it is in one of those plastic containers with a lid, because if not, you won't, like, if you have extra liquid and you're not, using it for mask making, use it up within a week or so. If not, the flour and water, it'll do this anyway if you leave it alone for a while. Like, mine hasn't done it yet because I just mixed it again. It will start to separate in the bowl, but you can't leave it for like months at a time. Maybe like a week or so before, going and washing it and mixing some new one. I always add a teeny itty bitty bit of glue. That's what that was over there. to go ahead and make sure it's able to hold better, because glue is a lot stronger than flour. Um, I used what was left in my glue bottle. There was not much, and there still isn't much. There's still some in there. But yeah, take your time. Use pictures for references if you have a reference that you're using it for. And, be proud of it, because what you make by hand shows that you really, really care about it, and that you'll be more proud of what you make rather than going ahead and buying something offline. Um, a lot of cosplayers and costume makers, they don't realize that. Like, I go to a con and I'll have a homemade costume, and they'll be like, oh, well, um, this looks awful. Well, it's not that it looks awful. Yes, I need time to get money to actually provide me with accurate materials. But also, if you're starting out, it's never a bad cosplay, you know?